Hello, my beautiful and shredded scholars. Thank you for joining me. My name is David Shear, and it is a pleasure to have you here. In today's video, we're going to discuss the exercises that built my physique. I've been training consistently for 13 years now, and my goals have varied along that time frame, and I've practiced pretty much every exercise variation that you could think of. I've had times where I focused on being fast, lean, and light, and I have times where I focused on being very strong and heavy. I've also focused on aesthetics. So I understand how to balance all three at this point, and I want to share with you the exercises that have contributed the most to my athletic abilities and my aesthetic appearance. First and foremost, we have deadlifts, which is quite a controversial number one pick. A lot of people say that the risk to reward ratio with the deadlift is not in favor of being optimal. However, you know what's optimal about the deadlift? The ability to coordinate such a tremendous amount of power. Think of your brain like a battery. Think of your body as a machine, as an electrical machine. The battery has to send electrical impulses to the muscles to fire them, to make them move, to contract so that you can coordinate the movement of the exercise. When you deadlift, you can overload the body with more weight than any other exercise, thus training the central nervous system to output intensity. And what I find these days is people often overlook intensity. They focus on the most optimal, the stretch mediated hypertrophy, lengthened partials, all of these things that become watered down, esoteric minutia that ultimately make you into a fool. You're focused on the wrong things. Rather than getting really good at the basics that are time-tested and proven, people are doing all of these silly exercise variations. The beauty of the deadlift is that unlike any other exercise, you can overload it to a degree that is just absurd. You can lift an immense amount of weight on the deadlift, and that has carryover to every other exercise, because when you train the central nervous system to output an increased amount of amperage like a battery, you then can carry over that explosivity and hyperconductivity in coordinating and contracting your muscles on every other exercise. So therefore, deadlifts hit number one. There are two variations of the deadlift that I prefer: the RDL, also known as the Romanian deadlift, and the Zercher deadlift. Now, the reason I like the RDL is because that little pause at the bottom before you touch the ground in between each repetition keeps the strain and the stress and the stretch on the hamstrings, the glutes, and the back. Whereas when you touch the ground, you can lose a little bit of that stretch and that tension. With the Zercher deadlift, you're training the rounding and extension, the flexion and extension of your back in a very functional manner. Think about moving furniture, throwing around logs, picking up rocks, doing any sort of manual labor. You're not going to always have handles to grab something by. So the conventional approach to deadlifting, where you're wrapping your hands around a barbell, tends to pale in significance. If you have to pick something up that's 100 pounds and shaped weird, like I had to go help my wife's grandfather offload a metal grill from his truck. Okay, I'm not going to have handles and, keep my back perfectly straight and hinge at the hips. No, I had to round over the thing to grab it to pick it up off the truck. That's just one scenario. There are many scenarios in which you will not be able to use traditional deadlift technique to pick heavy things up off the ground. So it's good to train Zerchers, but you need to train them light and practice getting into that stretch in a slow and controlled manner, gradually increasing the weight over time. These two exercises will not only enable you to move lots of weight, they will give you resilience. They will help to solidify and strengthen your back so that it doesn't snap in half if, God forbid, you get in a fight and you need to throw someone over your shoulder. The next exercise on the list is the squat. I am a purist when it comes to the squat. Many of you that have seen videos of me squatting have seen how I favor high repetition sets and pause reps. And the reason for this is I want to own the movement. I don't just want to visit the movement. When I see people do 1 rep maxes and they just bounce out of the bottom, yes, you completed the rep. but did you control every portion of it? My goal with strength training is to have control over my environment. An increased amount of control due to the amount of load that I am managing. So, when I'm doing a squat, I don't want to just do it for the sake of going up and down. I want to do it so that I build resilience to the compressive force of that exercise. The whole reason you load weight up on you so that you can get stronger at resisting its compression. So when I squat, I go slow. I pause at the bottom. I keep an upright posture like a silverback gorilla, and I breathe deep through my belly, letting my butt rest on my calves, sitting in that deep primal squat. Really does something to build resilience within the ankles, the knees, the hips, and the back, because it's not just visiting the moment and bouncing through the bottom. No, it's owning every single inch of that range of motion so that I can always be certain that I have the prerequisite amount of strength to do something in my day-to-day life. I'm not going to worry if I've got to pick up a 100-pound bag of sand and move it. I know that I can get down on the ground, round over, and have the resilience within my back to reasonably do that without hurting myself. And that to me is extremely important. Not just having big quads, big calves, big glutes, but the function that is associated with healthy tendons, healthy cartilage, healthy ligaments, and all the connective tissue that supports me in that squat. And not just the squat, every exercise, but that's just something I hyper fixate on with the squat because it's easy to just do half reps, go to 90 degrees, and load on a crap ton of weight, throw on a belt and a squat suit, and boom, you're a power lifter. That to me is just, it's not that smart. The next exercise is the incline bench press. Now this can be done with a barbell, it can be done with a machine or with dumbbells. My preference is with a machine because it reduces the amount of stability that is required to perform the exercise, and you can focus solely on the hypertrophic benefit of the incline barbell bench press. The reason why I go with an incline, it's going to hit a little bit more upper chest, and I think that's better for aesthetics. When you pair lots of incline pressing with overhead pressing, it really fills out the shoulder on the front half. And when you look from the side, it creates this nice appearance of the chest that's well balanced. So the incline bench press, particularly on a machine, whether that's a free weight machine where you load up the plates, or if that's on a pin machine where you put the pin on the cable and you press, that's my favorite way to train my horizontal pushing. Now, to complement that horizontal pushing, we need a horizontal pull. The barbell row is my pulling exercise of choice. Now, you could argue that a chest-supported row would be better for hypertrophy, and you'd be right, because it allows you to focus solely on contracting the muscles that are responsible for moving the weight from here to there. However, if you're interested in improving your deadlift, the barbell row has tremendous carryover to the deadlift because there are similar movement patterns. And when you start to do things like pin lay rows, where you're getting a little bit more momentum and you're resting the bar on the ground between reps, you really build that explosive power and learn how to incorporate your spinal erectors into your pulling movements. And for someone like myself that has a homestead and I do a lot of heavy lifting and work throughout the day, I need the ability to pick a couple 100 pounds off the ground using my entire body, not just compartmentalizing the movement to the contraction of my rhomboids, rear delts, and lats, but to actually incorporate all of the musculature within my posterior chain to do that movement in the most diligent manner possible. So that's why I choose the barbell row. However, if you just want to build the most muscle possible, a chest-supported row with an overhand grip is all that you need for horizontal pulling. Next on the list, we have the overhead press. The overhead press is, in my opinion, the king of pressing exercises because not only is it super cool when you press a lot of weight. You want to talk about a flex? Go in the gym and press someone's bench press because they have to lay down and really use their lats and their back and arch to get, but if you can boom over your head, alpha. That's so cringe. Why would I say that? Anyways, I'm gonna leave it in the video because y'all get to see how I am. These are just my thoughts, okay? My ramblings, my philosophical ponderings of the fundamentals of physical fitness. When you perform the overhead press and you get really strong at it, you learn how to balance the bar over the center of mass for your body. So rather than locking out here, you learn to lock out with your joints stacked vertically. What this does is it trains proper posture, which is going to make you a better looking man. Okay, when you have proper posture and you're not slumped over, you're going to appear taller, more confident, and more attractive. So not only is the barbell overhead press an awesome exercise for developing your shoulders, your upper back, and your traps, it's going to make you more attractive. Plus, it's awesome. It feels great to press a ton of weight over your head. So train your barbell overhead press. Be sure that you squeeze your glutes and the bar whenever you press. There's a principle I'd like to touch on briefly, and it's known as the principle of radiation. Go ahead and do this for me. Squeeze your hand as hard as you possibly can into a fist. What you'll probably notice is that the rest of your arm is also tensing up and flexing. This is because for the electrical impulse to flow into the muscles of your forearm to contract your fist, they have to go through these muscles here. It is very difficult to flex your hand as hard as possible without flexing your arm. So, that being said, I want you to incorporate that on every exercise that you do, regardless if it's a barbell back squat. Squeeze the bar. There should be no area of your body lacking in tension because that tension is your intention. You want to create as much power as possible, and the best way to do that is to incorporate every ounce of muscle fiber within your body into whatever movement you do. And I'm not saying to use a ton of momentum. What I'm saying is to contract everything so that there is no weak link in the chain. There's no energy leaking. Everything is tight and focused, even down from like my calves contracting and squeezing energy up into my arm. Everything is coordinated together so that I can create the most absurd amount of power on each repetition. Following up the overhead press, we've got the pull-up. For me personally, it has been the weighted pull-up that is responsible for a majority of my pulling strength and back development. It is such an accessible exercise. If you can't do pull-ups already, you can hang from the bar. Once you can hang, you can do shrugs. Once you can do shrugs, you can jump up to the top and hold and do negatives. And from there, you can start using a resistance band and doing reps. It's super simple. You can do it on a tree. You can do it on a scaffold. You can do it on a door frame. There's so many ways that you can incorporate pull-ups. They're great for shoulder health, and they balance out the pressing that we do. So think about the overhead press, right? We're pressing vertically. Think about a pull-up. We're pulling vertically. The times where we run into issues with injuries always arise when there's a lack of balance. Now, this could be a lack of balance between your training and your recovery, or it could be a lack of balance within the proportion of strength developed within the musculature of your own body. So if I have a disproportionate amount of strength in my tricep as opposed to my bicep, what's going to happen over time is this elbow joint is going to receive more stress on one side. And when that accumulation of stress gets to a point where it just simply cannot be managed, it starts to aggravate us. It starts to tell us about it. It says, ouch, ouch, hey, stop doing that. That's not good. We need balance. We don't like being in pain. We like balance. So whenever you do a horizontal push, you complement it with a horizontal pull. When you do a vertical push, you complement it with a vertical pull. That is how you achieve balance within the body. That's how you keep yourself in the game. The only times where I've had to have surgery were because my training did not reflect balance for a long enough period of time that I accumulate an abundance of injury. If you want to make the most amount of progress, you need to avoid injury. The way that you do that is by achieving balance, not just in your recovery and training, but within the training itself in the exercise selection. So that make sure you're balancing your pushing and your pulling. You're balancing your squatting and your hinging. These sorts of things are subtle, but they seriously add up over time and they will keep you in the game. Next, and last on the compound movement list, we have the dip. This is referred to as the squat of the upper body, and for good reason. Dips will destroy your triceps. They're my favorite tricep exercise that's not an isolation. They also target the chest extremely well and the front of the shoulder. These are an exercise that require full body coordination, yet you can start at a very low intensity. You can put a resistance band around the handles, put your knees in the middle, and take your time getting strong. And then eventually do body weight. And once you can do 10 reps body weight, add weight with a weight belt, just like you would on pull-ups. This exercise is going to teach you to coordinate all of the muscle mass in your upper body to press. It's going to have a tremendous carryover to your bench press, to your overhead press, and it will make you a more athletic person. When you train dips, you develop power because it has the greatest potential overload of any pressing movement. More than your bench press, more than your overhead press or incline press. The dip is by far the strongest use of the tricep of any of these exercises. So I would highly recommend getting strong at these because your triceps make up 2/3 of the arm. So if you want to have a bigger arm, you need to focus on the muscles that make up 2/3 of the arm, not just your biceps. Everybody trains biceps, but the tricep makes up 2/3 of the arm. Train the triceps. That's how you're going to fill out the sleeves of your shirt. Now we're going to move into the isolation exercises. First on the isolation exercise list, we have the Lu raise. Now this is popularized by Liu Shaojun, a world record holding Chinese Olympic weightlifter. The difference between the traditional lateral raise, where you're stopping here, and the Lu raise is the range of motion and the completeness of the contraction. So full shoulder flexion involves a degree of shoulder elevation and trap activation. When we pair our traps and our upper back with our shoulders, we develop a resilient and robust encapsulation of the shoulder with thick, dense muscle and tendons and ligaments, and the cartilage is much more healthy. Because if all you train is lateral raises out to the side, you're only strong in this range of motion. It doesn't carry over to your overhead press very well. And the reason for this is when you're targeting lateral raises like this, you're focused on the superficial musculature, meaning the musculature on the outside. You're neglecting the rotator cuff, infraspinatus, supraspinatus, levator scapulae, teres minor, teres major. All of these little intricate muscles that are beautifully woven into the shoulder girdle that are responsible for giving you full function of your shoulder. So if you want to build big shoulders, but you also want them to be healthy, don't neglect the top half of shoulder flexion. When you train Lu raises, go all the way up. I like to pick a weight. I was in the gym today doing these all the way up. And once you can no longer get all the way up, go halfway. Because now you can rest assured knowing you did invest into well-rounded shoulder health, and you can burn out that medial delt just a little bit more to achieve your bodybuilding goals while maintaining the health and structural integrity of the shoulder. Next on the list, we've got tricep extensions. Now, I love tricep extensions, whether it's overhead with a barbell or with your traditional cable push down. Like I said earlier, triceps are a big muscle group. If you train them more, they are going to give you a disproportionately good return on investment. Better than biceps, though you need to train both. If you train your triceps seriously, you're going to have big arms. Do your tricep extensions either overhead with a barbell or down on the straight bar with the cable. Last but certainly not least, we have the bicep curl. Bicep curls are a basic exercise that I think every gym bro does. In fact, I remember being like 10 years old and watching a David Laid transformation video, and I had like these 8-pound dumbbells in my room, and this is 2 a.m. on a random school night. Okay, I don't know what I was doing up watching it. I think I snuck my iPod upstairs so I could watch, fitness YouTube videos because I was inspired. And I saw this video and I'm like, what, screw it, it starts today. It starts today. And I did like 200 curls in each arm with those 8-pound dumbbells and like 100 push-ups as quickly as I possibly could. I was so sore for the next week. It was debilitating. Like, that's obviously not an intelligent way to approach training. In doing so, I instinctively knew, okay, bicep curls, right? You want bigger biceps, you do bicep curls. I've stuck with bicep curls because they're a beautiful exercise. I love with dumbbells and with barbells because you can get a little momentum into it. So on those last few reps when it's really hard to get that squeeze and you just need to milk just that last little bit out of the movement, you can get a little momentum into it. And that added momentum is going to make it much more reasonable for you to push through plateaus. If you get a little momentum, you can force yourself to control an extra negative. And that might be the difference between you making progress and you not making progress. So yes, cable curls are great. I love them. They have an evenly distributed resistance curve throughout the entire range of motion. However, there's something beautiful about just loading up some weight on a barbell and just banging out some curls. If you do all of these exercises, I can guarantee that you will build an amazing physique that is not just aesthetic, it's also athletic. But it comes with the intention behind the exercise being applied in an intense manner. The last thing that I would like to mention is the fact that I have put together a free fitness guide. It is called Centurion Strength, and you can get it in the description down below. What you'll get is my extensive philosophy on fitness, how I approach nutrition and recovery, 2 training routines that I put together for you depending upon your skill level and the equipment that you've got available. They have sets and reps and exercises with form tutorial videos so that you don't need to spend $1 to start doing the right stuff today to put you in a position to be on track to become the strongest in your bloodline. I've also partnered with a company known as Redmond's. They make a drink called Redmond's Relight. It's electrolytes that you mix in with your water. I can tell a difference in taking it. It makes me feel more productive. It makes me feel more hydrated throughout the day, and I feel stronger in the gym. They don't use any synthetic preservatives, any form of artificial flavoring. It is delicious. Sodium, magnesium, potassium with natural flavors to hydrate you and to help you become the strongest in your bloodline. If you'd like 15% off of that, you can also find the link down in the description below. I appreciate you sticking with me to the end of this video. If you did, be sure to show your support by leaving a like, dropping a comment down below, and subscribing to the channel for more. I hope that you have a blessed day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Goodbye.